by even the legacy guitars. Wild Audio Guitars, tailor-made for Black Label Society frontman and Pantera reunion guitarist Zach Wild. Guitars from Wild Audio come in the most amazing shapes and finishes. Then when you plug them in, wow, the sound, the fret reach, the playability. CY Slash, Kirk Hammett, Brad Paisley, and more are wild about their Wild Audio guitars. And they've got basses, acoustic guitars, accessories, and left-handed instruments too. Wild Audio guitars for craftsmanship, durability, versatility, and oh my God, the sound. Visit wild-audio.com. That's WYLDE-audio.com. And go wild. It's just after 4 o'clock in the big city. It's time for America's favorite Las Vegas sports show, Sports X Radio with Ken Thompson.
Yeah, what up? Party's going on.
Duh.
Going to a party!
Sports X Radio with Ken Thompson is brought to you by Hannah Shea and Ravapudi, trial lawyers that get results. Dom DeMarco's Pizzeria and Wine Bar. Visit DomDeMarcos.com. Taste the quality. The Westgate Superbook. It's the largest in the world. Crescent School of Gaming and Bartending, the only school of its kind in the U.S. Steiner's Pub, a true Nevada-style pub. And by Whoa Promos. WHOApromos.com. Start saying whoa. So get ready, because Sports X Radio with Ken Thompson starts now.
Yeah, it's a huge show, buddy, coming your way live from Las Vegas on a start of the week that, it's always this way, right, gentlemen? Right, Sports X Radio Nation out there, as we get ready to get the week rolling. The Final Four is set. Major League Baseball season is underway. The college basketball season winding down as we get set for the Final Four in Indianapolis as the 4 teams are set. But big time news coming across the board when it came to the National Hockey League here in Las Vegas. Just a matter of less than 24 hours ago. We're going to get into that and much, much more. But I'll tell you, it's been unbelievable. In for Ken Thompson on this Monday, I'm Chris Winn, hosting along with our guy, host of Straight Bet Sports, Jose Volante. Big thanks to Numchuck, making us look and sound good as we start our week here. Gentlemen, it's not your ordinary Monday, is it? When it comes to the sports world across the board, especially here in Las Vegas. Obviously, news out of the NFL owners meetings as well, too, that we'll get to later on in the show. Some great guests today, by the way. Tom Barton will join us in hour number 2 from Tom Barton Sports, break down all things the NCAA basketball tournament, get some of his takes also when it comes to the NHL and NBA as those seasons wind down as well, too. And he's a baseball guy just like we are, Jose, so we'll get some of his baseball takes as well, too. Mitch Gibbs going to join us from New Orleans, sports talk host with WGSO there in the Bayou. He covers all things LSU and, of course, the SEC as well, too. So we'll get his Final Four takes as well, too. And, of course, coming up right now, we have one of our favorites, obviously, his first season here in Las Vegas with the UNLV Runnin Rebels. They just finished off the season where they were able to get a W in the NIT tournament to close things out and getting ramped up and ready to roll for season number 2 in the Mountain West. And we are extremely glad on this Monday to be joined by head coach of UNLV, Josh Pastner, here on Sports X Radio. Coach, we really appreciate you spending some time on a Monday and a start to your week. How are you doing so far this afternoon, my friend?
I don't even know what day of the week it is. You kidding me? I've been in recruiting, but we've been in recruiting mode. You got the portal coming up in about a week. You're just trying to figure out who's on your roster, who's not on your roster, what's going on, preparing for next season. There is no stoppage. The season gets done, which for us was about a week or so ago. And you go from that being done to literally the next day, your phone has not stopped ringing. And so I've said it multiple times. This job is 24/7, 365. Every waking second, that's all you're thinking about is UNLV basketball. How do we get our program back to where everybody wants it to be? First order of business is obviously that we all want to be back in the NCAA tournament. So, but in order to do that, you got to have a roster to do that. So we're trying to navigate that whole ordeal, and my phone has not stopped, and which in a good thing, in a good way, because people around the country have seen the guys that we've had based on our system, player development, guys' values have really increased because of the way they played, how we've played offensively and did some different things. People want to come here. And so now you're trying to decipher all those things, and what's the money value, what's the budget you have, how much are guys asking for, is it too much, so you're playing head coach, fundraiser, general manager, vice president, president of basketball operation. It's just a little bit of multiple hats all in one.
Coach, obviously there was some news over the weekend and a loaded sports weekend, right, when it comes to your team and your program with both departures and guys who are going to stay. Obviously, the big news, right, Las Vegas local hometown guy, Tyron Jones, staying here at UNLV, a double-digit score for you guys last year, really an Energizer Bunny type of guy. What he does on the court, right, as far as a player, you are as a coach, right, on the sidelines for this program. Your thoughts on having the opportunity to coach Tyron in his sophomore season coming up here in the 2026-27 season.
Yeah, Tyron is just, you're right. The way I coach, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I want, and I've talked to our marketing department about this, the energy in the building, in the things not on the floor, like during the timeouts, the reviews, whatever it may be, that energy in that building's got to match me. And so everything we're doing in there has got to match the enthusiasm of how I want our team to be, our players to be, the program to be. It's got to match. It can't be like, there is no, slow or anything like this. Everyone's motor's got to be ticking and talking at all time. And that's what I love about Tyron. Yep. His motor's moving at all time. You can just see it, the things that he does. He just gets better. He has gotten better every time he stepped on the floor. He didn't come in like this. It took him some time. And every time he played, every minute he played, his excitement, his positivity, he's a culture warrior for our program. People love being around him. The fans love watching him play. I can't tell you how many games he saved us for wins when out of nowhere he's looking like he's Dikembe Mutombo, blocking shots left and right. It was just an unbelievable deal. And so we really want to build and center around him going into next season. So it was a real big deal to be able to get him back. And we are beyond excited and enthused about that. And he's a huge centerpiece of what we're trying to accomplish here. And in regards to, like you said, you talked about the other news, probably Dravian Gibbs-Lawhorn had mentioned that he was going to go in the portal. Mm-hmm. Let me just say this about him. He'll tell you that, Coach, he doesn't want to leave either. He wants to stay. And maybe there's still a chance to stay. I just think a lot of it is, I think part of it on retention, and I've said this publicly, retention requires money. This isn't the old days where it's just a scholarship and they're going to say, Coach, I love you, and we're so excited for next year. There's a lot of business decisions to be made too. And so obviously as I mentioned, I'm going to have to fundraise and continue to fundraise. You guys know I have been very public about that. I have given my email out. I have told people to reach to me. We need some big hitters, long arms, deep pockets to help. That all being said, the reality that is, I look at UNLV, we're in the same level. I want us to be in the same level playing field for recruiting as Arizona, UCLA, USC, any of those teams on the West Coast. But the difference is we don't have the same budget, an NIL budget. That's just the reality of it, of where things are today. And so some schools could say, hey, man, UNLV is going to offer you this. We're going to triple what they're going to offer because they have the financial means to do it. And so that's where some of those things are at. And that's just the reality of it when you're dealing in retention, is you have to be able to, budget matters. And so I have a responsibility as the head coach, GM, head of fundraising, president of basketball operations, however you want to look at it, to put a great product on the floor. But I've got to also do it within our budget. You know what I mean? And build a great team around it. And so, let me just last thing say this. In football, you can have injuries and you can misevaluate and still win because the numbers are so much. You're okay. basketball, if you have some injuries and or you misevaluate, it can derail your whole season. That's why I tell people when we started our point guard and our starting center, both guys were lost to injury. Most teams would have just fallen off the cliff and have had, you talking to anyone else in the Mountain West Conference, have lost their starting point guard and starting center, their years would have been awful. We started off slow. And that part of it, we were trying to find our identity, who we were. I don't think people fully understand when you're losing those two areas. That's like losing your quarterback in football and your center in this hike. I mean, you lost both of them. It's going to take time to get sync and feel it out. We've been able to manage, get back, play our best basketball in the second half of the season. And I think part of that was how we constructed the roster, that we had a group of guys. It wasn't all just to one guy. We kind of spread it out to kind of construct it to protect ourselves based on that situation.
Josh Pastner joining us, head coach of UNLV, the Runnin Rebels, as their season comes to a close, getting set for that number 2 season. Coach, I heard an interview with Leonard Hamilton, a longtime coach that I covered down in Florida when I worked down in Orlando, and he talked about the grind of the coach, right, where he hadn't seen the sunshine, gentlemen, in weeks because of how much of the grind it was for him. Basically just being in the darkness for years because of how much work he put into it. And you're alluding to that, of course, Josh, with what you have to deal with as a coach, right? Where it's the grind, especially in today's day and age with NIL and with the transfer portal. I go back to remembering when, covering Michigan basketball, when Olivier St. John transferred from Michigan to San Jose State back in the mid 90s, where you get like maybe 1, 2, 3, or 4 guys that would transfer, right? And that would be like huge news. Now it's all different. So we really appreciate you spending some time. Jose, any questions for our guy?
Yeah, Coach, thank you again for the time. I read in the paper that you said that no one needs to stress, because if you have to basically go out and, recruit 13, 15 more guys and bring them in, that's basically what you're going to do. You talked about how much this game has changed, and not only for the players, obviously the players can go and come as they please when the season is over, but how tough is it making it for you to not only go out and recruit these players, but make sure you get the right players on the court every single night in and night out?
Yeah, well, and you're right, Jose. And I said that, and I said in the newspaper, because people were upset about Dre leaving. And I said, there's no need to stress. I said, the world. I mean, we're not the only program. To get Tyron Jones back was huge. Yeah. But 2, you look at everywhere. There's 1,000 people already said they're going to transfer, and we haven't even hit the portal yet. That's not until next Tuesday. By that time, there might be 3,000 kids in the portal. I mean, literally, teams will just lose everybody, and you got to, in the way that the climate is based on the structure of the rules, you literally have to prepare to start over every year with 13 new guys. That's just the reality of it. And that's nothing against the UNLV or anything. And if you have a negative connotation towards that, or you're upset about it, or you want to complain, you're going to get left behind. This is the world that we're in. And what I would say, Jose, is, and I also said in the newspaper, if you read it, I said, nobody's bigger than the program. Yeah. That includes the head coach. And that, so that means no players are bigger. So we're going to be able to get out. There's so many good players out there. We're going to get a great roster. We have more time to be prepared to get a great roster. You got to remember, last year we got the job really late. We were in scramble mode. We didn't finish our roster till July. It was just hectic, like you wouldn't believe. So we're going to be in great shape. What we had to do in this year 1 is establish culture, Jose. I mean, that's what that was 1A, 1B, 1C, is to establish the culture. Part of the reason this program, what I believe for a long time, there's been apathy here in the city on this program. And I believe this could be a sleeping giant, and the trees just need to be rattled. Part of the reason, in my personal belief, it wasn't anything against coaches or anything like that, is that everybody just wanted to have a quick fix, David Copperfield, snap the fingers, okay, be good right now. And not, it doesn't work like that. And we're not in the position to do that. And because we're not going to outbid everybody financially. So you have to, I've told this to numerous people, we can't get to the 3rd floor rooftop deck pool without having the ground floor, 1st floor, 2nd floor, to have some, your foundation, so you can hang out there at that 3rd floor and get a suntan. What we're doing is everyone just wants just a quick fix and snap the fingers. And why don't you? And so what we had to do in this year is to establish what we're about. Because, Jose, people are going to be leaving in and out of the program. What has to be established is this is how, no matter who's in here or not, this is how we're going to do things. This is the method that we do it. Whether we have 13 new guys or one new guy, this is how it is. And in order for us to climb the mountain and to not just be a one good year and then three to try to sustain and be back to one of the premier programs on the West Coast, you've got to follow this model in order for us to get there. Yes, no one's going to want it to be 5, 6, 7 years like the old days, but it can't just be. It was like the beginning of the season, people ready to jump off the bridge, and I was like, just relax. Like, we're in year one. Like, we had to start over. Yeah. We're going to get there. Like, this wasn't going to be a 1 year hit. We was going to take a little time. Bear with me. And we're going to get to make it happen where everyone wants to get to. Is it going to be easy? No. It's going to be hard. Yes. But it's going to take this is going to be an effort by the entire community to help drag this moving forward. So we all get where we all want to get to.
Yeah, to that point, Coach, right? I think about this from a standpoint of, and I've talked about this on the air nonstop since I started covering this team back in the mid-2000s during the Lon Kruger years, right, with UNLV. It feels like, Coach, and I think you'll pick up what I'm putting down here, it feels like UNLV should be one of the top 2 premier programs in the Mountain West. The only other program to me that should have any type of elevation towards the top level of this conference should be, San Diego State, right? The Aztecs, obviously, for what they've been able to do, with what Steve Fisher and Brian Dutcher have been able to do with that program over, the last couple of decades there with that program.
You're right.
They're there. But UNLV should be right there with them.
Right. But let me just say this. You're right. I'm in agreement with you. Like, when we played at San Diego State this year, like, the crowd, the atmosphere, the energy was incredible. How they play, because, as you notice, we want to be above the rim. We're Las Vegas. We got to be being great athletes above the rim. We got to be playing fast, being able to switch at all positions, just like San Diego State. But what I would tell you, to your point, you are right. You are 100% right. The only thing is, it didn't happen in year one. It took a little time, and then and then it turned, and then the next thing you know, because if you remember their first year or two, they were drawing 800 people to 1,000. That's it in the arena. It just didn't come in there, and they were like, "Hey, we're going to wave the magic wand, and automatic is good." And I'm in agreement with everything you said. My only thing is, I try to remind people, we're going to get there. It's just this past first year, there were some highs and lows, but that's part of the build to do what San Diego State has done, who was kind of the gold standard over the last decade in the Mountain West Conference. And we can play the same way. We can get the same type of athletes. We're in Las Vegas. We're able to do that, and that's what our identity needs to be.
Head coach of UNLV basketball, Josh Pastner, joining us here on SportsX Radio. Chris Winn, Jose Volante on this Monday with all kinds of news going on. Coach, we'd be remiss not to ask you, of course, the Final Four is set. You're a guy, went to Arizona, coached, obviously, and played for under the legendary Lute Olson there, of course, and was an assistant coach there a long time. I got to believe, you still bleed a lot of Wildcat there when it comes to that program. Got to get your thoughts on this team making it to the Final Four. They're one of the number 1 seeds still remaining there, and headed to Indianapolis, and just getting a chance as an alum and as an Arizona guy to get to see them do that.
Well, here's what I would tell you about the Final Four. First of all, I think it's going to be a great Final Four. I think the 2 best teams in the country are Arizona and Michigan. It's not even a question. Yeah. They've been the best 2 teams from start to finish. If you look at the wins this year for Arizona, they have the best wins. They've won at UConn. They beat Florida to open the season. They beat UCLA, San Diego State. I mean, they won the Big 12 regular season championship and won the tournament championship as well too. And on the other hand, Michigan, I think Michigan is the best team in the country. I think it's 1A and 1A. There's the 2 advantages that Michigan have. They're older. They're both teams are really, really big, but Michigan is older. And 2, when Michigan forces turnovers or they don't take quick shots, they are really, really hard to beat. Arizona's biggest thing is they don't take a lot of threes, but they are dominant in the paint. They dominate the paint. They dominate the rebounding. And I think the winner of that game is going to win the national championship. I think UConn, Illinois is a great game. But whoever wins that, the winner of the Arizona-Michigan game, to me, that's the championship game. And so it's going to be a heck of a Final Four. If you've noticed, because of the NIL, the Sweet 16 the Sweet 16 and to where we are, the Final Four, it's all power names right now. All Power 4 programs pretty much because of the NIL. It's made it that way in a sense. Now, is that good for the game? I mean, I think for TV networks, and you guys are both in the media, Chris and Jose. I mean, the TV. Yeah, they like the High Point win the round of 64, but when High Point plays Arkansas, they want Arkansas to win. Yeah. So Arkansas is playing Arizona in the Sweet 16. It's not Arizona versus High Point. I'm just telling you, I was in television. People with the branding, they all like the Cinderella story, the first round of 64. After that, TV wants the main names in that deep thing. So I say all that to say part of the NIL has really changed in that, because there's such a difference between someone's roster who's 10, 11, 12 million to someone that's 3 million. That doesn't guarantee automatic success, because you look at the New York Yankees, they don't win every single World Series and they have the highest payroll. It doesn't guarantee it. It just gives you a better chance of success, because you're probably you don't have to thread the needle so much on being perfect, because you're probably getting certain guys that are already proven and are surefire high-level performers. And so that's probably the difference on that. And just one last thing I'll bring up on the Final Four. That game versus UConn and Duke.
Crazy, right? Wow.
Duke and UConn. Let me just tell you this. For Duke, you talk about the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat in sports, how quickly that changed. And that will stick with them for forever. I mean, that you're not going to lose that, because they had all Boozer had to do was literally just roll the ball the other way, or just get a tie up, hold it. They didn't need to do anything. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. And that's what makes sports great. It's why sports is so coveted for TV networks, because it's the only thing that you can watch now that's live. Anything else, nobody cares about watching live television. They only want to watch sports. That's why the networks of the TV contracts are what they are financially.
Sets up for some fun matchups there in Indianapolis, right, for those Final Four teams left. And I think you're spot on, Coach. I think Arizona and Michigan are the top two teams. But, hey, Illinois and UConn, they're pretty good too. Either. Yeah, they're pretty good too. They're pretty good too. They make it interesting there in that matchup. Coach Josh Pastner from UNLV. Hey, Coach, we really appreciate you spending some time on Monday. I know things can get dicey when it comes to your time as you get things ready, ramping things up for year number 2 and getting all UNLV fans, all Runnin' Rebel faithful, fired up for your program.
I would like to say now, before I let you go, listen, we got Tyron back, and this is important. And you guys know this. I've publicly given my email out. I am about as accessible as you'll find. I'm probably more accessible than you, Jose, than you, Chris. To be honest,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, but listen, I've told people, you've got someone that's got deep pockets and long arms. Email me. Let me know. joshua.pastner@unlv.edu. But if you can't do that, you know what we need? We need people buying season tickets. I think that's really important. Tyron Jones is back. We're going to get a great roster, continue to build around him. We need people to buy season tickets, get into the arena. Like you just talked about why can't we be in one of the premier programs in the West Coast? One of the things, the Mountain West Conference, the difference between us and a lot of these other teams is their home court advantage. You want to know why Utah State had a guaranteed 15 to 16 wins no matter what, just because of their home court advantage. You don't think the Pit at Albuquerque in New Mexico, it's the home court advantage. Grand Canyon's home court advantage. We've got to get back to that. And I understand everyone says win, win, win. I get it. We've got to win. We got to do our job. We got to win. We got to win big. We got to play meaningful games late in the season. I understand that. But what comes first, the chicken or the egg? I mean, to me, we need people in there so we win those home games. I don't want to be in there when the energy and enthusiasm is low. Man, I'm an energy and enthusiastic coach. I want our team to play like that. Yeah. I want the fans to be rowdy in there. We need to create an environment again where it is energized. So email me or go to unlvtickets.com and get your season tickets. We need that thing back to be rowdy again. So we back to winning the Mountain West, because it needs to be a built-in home court advantage for us. I'm telling you, I've been going through this first year in this league. The difference between the teams with the home court advantage and us, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And we've got to do our part. We got to win. We got to win big. I get all that. We're going to play a great style of basketball. Everyone sees, how we want to play. We're going to be above the rim, athletic, playing fast. But we need people in the stadium to give us a real home court advantage.
Pack the Mac, right, Coach Pastner? That's what we're talking about.
That's right.
All things UNLV Runnin Rebel basketball. Coach Pastner, have a great rest of your week. We really appreciate you spending some time, and we'll talk to you again soon, okay, Coach?
Okay, thanks, guys. Thank
Appreciate
you.
you, Coach.
Coach Josh Pastner, UNLV Runnin Rebel basketball. Obviously, news made over the weekend about a team, guys that are getting retained, and then guys, of course, that are leaving, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the nature of college basketball, right, Jose? That's what we're dealing with.
They're all free agents
in
now,
the 2020s in
They're all
college
free
hoops.
agents.
Your team could change over by what, 12 to 15 guys.
Yeah,
your roster could change when it comes to a college basketball program in big time Division I. So that's the case, and we'll see how Coach Pastner and UNLV handles this moving forward. Right?
It's gonna be fun, man. I'm interested to see if he goes after one guy though, because you and I talked about this before the show started.
Yeah, we did.
DJ took off, right?
Yeah,
he had a
Thomas,
chance.
obviously.
Yeah,
Yep.
he had a chance to recruit him when he got here last year. Obviously, in his first season, the kid decides to leave, goes to LSU. Now we're hearing that he's entering the transfer portal again because it didn't work out in LSU. If it didn't work out in the SEC, where do you really feel that you fit, DJ? And I don't mean that with any disrespect. I want to know what's in his head. But at the end of the day, is there any chance that Pastner goes after DJ, right? Like, because you even said, he even said right now, it's not necessarily done that Dre doesn't come back, right?
Yeah.
What if he does end up coming back? What if he decides, you know what I was hoping isn't out there? I'm going to stick to UNLV. I like what I got here. I'm going to come back. If you end up going after DJ, I would not be surprised. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm just throwing some crazy stuff out there, trying to stir the pot a little bit, Chris, but it would be an interesting conversation to have if it were to happen.
Yeah, I don't know if it's crazy necessarily, Jose. I think it's definitely something that could be a possibility, but it'd be something that would be, I think surprise would be the better word, right?
100%,
if it did go down. Jose Vellante, Chris Winn coming at you live at SportsX Radio. Let's take our first break. We come back. Mitch Gibbs is going to join us, WGSO in New Orleans. He covers all things LSU, covers all things New Orleans Saints. We'll talk to him about the NFL owners meetings, obviously the big news about Las Vegas and 2029 when it comes to the big game and much, much more. We're coming to you live from the PSR Law Studios here in Las Vegas. Pastner and Ravaputi, the best in personal injury, over $6 billion in verdicts and settlements for their clients the last 6 years. Strength by your side, the relentless pursuit of justice. You may not need them now, but you may need them in the future. Call 702-560-5520. That's Pastner and Ravaputi, PSR Law Studios. We're coming to you live here at KSHP in Las Vegas. You can also find us streaming on the World Wide Web at both sportsxradio.com and also the new app at KSHP.com. KSHP is outstanding. Gives you an opportunity to hear all the shows here at KSHP and also hear us on Straight Bet Sports with Jose Vellante. He's got us pegged up on video across the board, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Facebook, and beyond. So we got you covered across the board. We're going to be taking a look at some comments, folks. Get your takes. Chime in with what's going on because we're about to dive into it, folks. It's not just the Final Four. It's not just the Major League Baseball weekend. We had a bombshell drop on a Sunday afternoon here in Vegas when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights and the National Hockey League. And oh, by the way, there just happens to be a game tonight against the Vancouver Canucks at home at the Fortress where the new head coach, John Tortorella, is going to be behind the bench as Bruce Cassidy has been relieved of his duties as the head coach of the VGK. We're going to be getting into so much of this. Tom Barton going to join us an hour or two as well, too, to break down all things from a number standpoint from the Final Four and also talk some baseball with him. It is SportsX Radio on a huge show Monday, coming to you live from Vegas after this.
Steiner's, the Nevada Style Pub, invites you to play the best Tavertino and video poker in Vegas. Promos are how we roll, so make the most of your gaming dollars here with us. Come play in our ongoing gaming promotions and receive daily free play, bonuses, and more, with a chance to win Knights, Raiders, and Aviator tickets, and big money with all those jackpots. It's not only the great gaming that Steiner's Pub has, it's the 24 awesome rotating draft beers and best appetizers in batch. So join us in listening to USC Trojans, LA Rams, and all your home sports teams as we make history in Vegas. Steiner's, the Nevada Style Pub at 8410 West Cheyenne, 1750 North Buffalo, and Las Vegas Boulevard and Windmill. Steiner's, I love this place.
Think all guitars are pretty much the same? They're not. The guitars from Wild Audio are better, bolder, stunningly beautiful, and offer a playability unmatched by even the legacy guitars. Wild Audio guitars, tailor-made for Black Label Society frontman and Pantera reunion guitarist Zach Wild. Guitars from Wild Audio come in the most amazing shapes and finishes. Then when you plug them in, wow, the sound, the fret reach, the playability. CY Slash, Kirk Hammett, Brad Paisley, and more are wild about their Wild Audio guitars. And they've got basses, acoustic guitars, accessories, and left-handed instruments too. Wild Audio guitars for craftsmanship, durability, versatility, and oh my God, the sound. Visit wild-audio.com. That's WYLDE-audio.com. And go wild. Are you a shy smiler? Terrified of any food tougher than tofu? Do you wish there was some sort of reverse tooth fairy who puts teeth back into your mouth? If so, then AQ Denture and Dental Implant Center in Henderson might be able to help. AQ is an in-network provider for Medicare dental plans and one of the most technically advanced dental offices in the Valley. Dr. Maricondia is an internationally recognized expert in implant dentistry, and AQ's on-site lab means your custom implants, dentures, bridges, crowns, and more are ready faster and fit better. Call AQ Dental for a free consultation at 702-565-6000 or visit aqdentureservice.com. That's 702-565-6000. Dr. Maricondia may not be the reverse tooth fairy, but he can help restore your smile to its former glory. New smile, new you. Just call AQ. Whoa! Finally, some promo swag that's actually cool. Whoa Promos has the best lineup of promotional items you've ever seen. Backpacks, frisbees, jerseys, golf stuff, flash drives, too much to mention here, and all with your company logo. Whoa! Set up a free consultation with one of their expert promoters. Then pick the swag that's got you written all over it, and whoa! You've got the coolest swag in town. Visit WHOpromos.com. WHOA Promos.com. They've got offices in Los Angeles and Las Vegas, and even have a Fortune 500 client. They do lots of international business too. Call 888-725-8242. That's easy. 888-725-8242. Or visit WHOpromos.com. With thousands of selections, fast delivery times, and prices to fit all budgets, you, your customers, and potential customers will be saying whoa in no time. Visit WHOpromos.com today. WHOApromos.com. And start saying whoa.
Hey bartender, what'd you learn in school?
I learned a red snapper, kamikaze, Long Island iced tea, black Russian fuzzy nickel, and a sex. I highly recommend you call 1-800-BAR-10. Red snapper, kamikaze, Long Island iced tea, black Russian fuzzy nickel, and a sex on the beach. Margarita, Bloody Mary, slow gin fizz. Learn to make them all on the rocks with a twist. There's a school to attend, and I highly recommend you call 1-800-BAR-10.
Slap and Trey. I'm going there.
Hey, this is maybe roll on a huge show Monday.
LA, man, bring me back.
Crank a little West Coast tunage, baby. Chris Winn, Jose Volante, Chuck live in studio here in Las Vegas. Sports Radio coming your way live on a huge show Monday, just across the board. We say this every Monday, but this Monday is a little bit more special because of kind of the ramifications here today from a sports standpoint. And of course, look, you've got the Final Four set, right? Two of the top seeds, obviously, in Arizona and Michigan heading to the Final Four. You have Illinois and UConn joining them in dramatic fashion. And here to talk about it, I mean, that was crazy. That game was insane how that went down. And just, the jubilation when it comes to all things Huskies and just the demoralized sidelines of all things Duke and Blue Devils. Nobody shedding any tears here in Vegas, right, Jose? When it comes to the UNLV faithful with what happened to the Blue Devils. But here to talk about the Final Four, the NCAA tournament, and much more as well, too, is one of our favorite hosts, WGSO in New Orleans. Covers all things sports there, down there in the Bayou. Mitch Gibbs joins us here on Sports X Radio on this Monday. Mitch, we really appreciate you spending some time and carving things out. As we've got just a plethora of topics that we can get to you, sir, about.
You know, when you guys were just talking about that, I was thinking about that last night, being a Tark fan and Anderson Hunt, that ridiculous foul that probably cost UNLV the game. So I was smiling a little bit, except it wasn't Coach K coaching. Yeah. And I don't think they would have lost to Coach K. But I'm saying this, I'm willing to predict right now, and you know I'm big on predictions, that Shire will never win a national championship. If you can't have enough sense to call a time.
Never? I don't know.
I'm saying he will not win he doesn't know how to coach in a big game.
Talk about a hot take.
And he's never going to have such a talent advantage under the rules today. But if you can't think about calling a timeout when he's asked at the press conference, I mean, beyond the fact that they had a big lead, but if you call a timeout, you bring in your guys who can shoot free throws, and you say, hey, let's just get the ball in. We don't have to worry about getting the ball across half court because there's only 10 seconds left in the game. And we made 2 free throws. We walk out of here. We're in the Final Four. And the Florida coach, the defense that they played at the end of that game to lose to Iowa, which was inexcusable, we should have all 4 number ones in the Final Four. But you have 2 coaches that screwed up, and that's why we have Illinois and Connecticut in the Final Four.
Of course, let's get into it, Mitch, because Saturday action went down. Purdue, the Boilermakers, gave Arizona obviously a scare with that 7-point lead there at halftime. And then all the Arizona Wildcats did, Mr. Gibbs, was go out there and outscore the Boilermakers 48-26 of that second half. Koa Pete putting up a 20 spot in this tilt, and Arizona basically flexing their muscles. You saw the hustle play from Brandon Burries in this game as well that kind of punctuated their win and then punched their ticket, of course, to the Final Four. But that was a game that a lot of people I thought were surprised at the game that Purdue gave the Arizona Wildcats there, especially early on.
Yeah, I agree, because I think Purdue could have lost in a round or 2 before that. And I think about some of my sleeper teams that, like Houston, for example, and, other teams like that, Miami, that just didn't get the job done. But it's a shame, because I think that Arizona and Michigan would be a great national championship game. And I'm telling you right now, I used to say that if Mahomes could win a couple more Super Bowls, we put him in the conversation with Brady. If Hurley wins again, having to beat Duke, and then probably obviously the Arizona and Michigan, 3 out of 4 years, you got to put that guy up there. I know he's going to be not too far away from Krzyzewski, but if Hurley can win again 3 out of 4 years, I mean, come on, that's pretty high cotton right there.
Yeah, we had Coach Josh Pastner, who was an Arizona guy, right? Played there, won that national championship in 1997. We had him on before you talking about both. And look, I think all of us agree it doesn't take a rocket scientist or some college basketball expert to figure out that Michigan and Arizona are the 2 best teams left in this tournament. But make no mistake, right? This is a team in UConn. You win kind of in a fashion of that in that way, right? In that game. And then, of course, you've got a team like the Illini, where it was, again, this was another situation where I was up at halftime, had that single-digit lead at halftime, and then the Illini go out there and put on a 43-27 display in that second half. You've got, obviously, the likes of Wagler and Visick and these guys just going off in that second half. You got some live teams that are going to be kind of underdogs going into these tilts coming up on Saturday in Indianapolis.
Well, if Connecticut was playing Illinois in a couple of days, I would say I always believe in the bounce theory in horse racing, where a horse wins a big race coming off a layup and then struggles in the next race. But Connecticut's got a bunch of days to come down from that high, and so I think it won't be a bad if Illinois beats them. They beat them. But I'm just very impressed. You got to give her, I'm not a Connecticut fan. I've never really been a Connecticut fan, but not only did they, I mean, not that they got a gift there at the end and then there was a lucky 3-point shot, but they did come back from a 20-point deficit. So you got to give him credit there. So, and they've got the intangible that Arizona and Michigan don't have. They have coaches won 2 national championships. He knows how to win big games, and that's huge. Even though I agree with you, if he beats Illinois and Arizona and Michigan winner, playing him, and I think they're the more talented team, but I give them a shot to win the game just because he's got the advantage, the coaching advantage of either the Arizona or Michigan coach.
Of course, Sunday, we had that dramatic game that UConn ends up pulling off the upset, but then you had the other matchup, not so much. Wolverines get out to that huge lead in that first half. You see what Lendenborg brings to the table, obviously, as a player. There was some concerns, right, over this Michigan team because of the K-Sot injury, what they were going to be able to do in the NCAA tournament, missing a guy that as instrumental to that Wolverine team as he was. But it seems like they haven't missed much of a beat. When you're talking about all things Wolverines, they get the 95-62 victory over Tennessee and Rick Barnes' squad, despite the fact that Gillespie had a pretty solid game for Tennessee. Your thoughts on this Wolverine team led by Dusty May, who look like they're really on the precipice of probably cutting down the nets when it comes to Indy?
They look good. I mean, I think you would think the winner, Michigan, Arizona, probably wins the game. And I want to throw out one other thing. There are 2 guys coaching that have had success. One of them's won a national championship. The other guy hasn't. That you can guarantee they will not be in the Final Four. And that's Barnes and Izzo. Those guys, I know Izzo won years ago, but he's never going to get to it. There's no way Izzo will ever win another national championship. You can't get rid of the guy because he's a legend. And then Barnes. I don't care where Barnes coaches. It doesn't matter. He's a good coach, but he never can win a game, a big game. And in this one, it wasn't even close. But it just goes to show you that it was really should have been a top-heavy year. And again, coaching, Florida and Duke should be in the Final Four. We could have a great Final Four with 4 number ones. But, again, Shire doesn't understand like calling a timeout and foul and getting them to foul, not losing the ball, make the 2 free throws. And the Florida coach, how he let them get such an easy 3-point shot to lose that game is for a guy who just won a national championship the year before is unbelievable. I think the coaching has been very, very sketchy in this tournament so far. So we'll see. And that's why I think Connecticut has a real shot. And I wouldn't be surprised if they win another national championship. They got a big coaching advantage in the Final Four, in my opinion.
But don't you think it kind of also changes the way some of these guys are coaching their teams now, if you think about it? Because you don't know how some of these guys are going to come out and play, right? And the reason I say that, NIL, transfer portal, if some guy is going to come out, try to show out in the tournament, they're probably going to try to do a little bit more than they would to help their team, or vice versa, right? So I think that it also changes the way that some of these coaches are going to come out and coach. I agree with you with Barnes. Barnes reminds me of Marty Schottenheimer in college basketball. The guy is great in the regular season, but he can't do anything and win that thing when it really matters. I don't know about Izzo. I think Izzo could figure out the new style and the new age that we're in now with the NIL and the transfer portal. I haven't given up faith and hope on him yet, but I agree with you on Barnes. Barnes to me is just one of those guys that I don't think will ever get to the top at all.
Well, you're going to have success with both those guys. You're going to be in the tournament. You probably at least get to the Sweet 16, but a lot of coaches have lost their job. We're just talking about, I know you want to talk about the Vegas Gold Knights. That guy did a pretty good job with the Vegas Gold Knights. Yeah. He got, reminds me a little Brian Billick. He won a Super Bowl, and then a few years ago, they're like, I'm sorry, Mr. Billick, you're gone.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. You like that segue, huh, Chris? Because I know you want to talk about
That is so professional. This is top-notch sports radio coming at you, folks. It is Mitch Gibbs joining us here live on Sports X Radio. Chris Winn, Jose Vellante on a huge show Monday. What a transition. I'm going right there, Mr. Gibbs. You are a guy who's had the opportunity. You've been here in Vegas. You do cover the NHL. You are familiar with all things pucks across the board. You'll be out here in a matter of probably a couple weeks, right, to get a chance to cover some Vegas goals.
The last 2 games.
Yeah, right. Cover the last 2 games of the season. Obviously, bombshell news yesterday that went down, not just here in Las Vegas, right, Mitch, but across the National Hockey League. When you have a coach that has the resume that Bruce Cassidy does, he brings the first Stanley Cup championship here to Las Vegas, to a franchise that's not even a decade old, and now he is sent out the door. And not only that, but you bring in a firebrand, the likes of John Tortorella, and it's announced basically 5 seconds after Bruce Cassidy is let go here in Las Vegas. I have to get Mitch Gibbs' take on what has transpired here in just a short period of time when it comes to all things coaching with the Vegas Golden Knights.
Well, I want to throw out one thing because you guys like to talk about the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be funny if Cassidy goes back to the Bruins? Let's say because Will Wade got fired from LSU, he just got hired a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
If the Bruins say, you know what, we made a mistake, we're bringing Cassidy back, that'd be interesting. But I think that this is one of those things where they feel like, you know, it's run its course. It was a nice run. I mean, they said all the nice things when they thanked him for his service, which is always funny.
Yeah.
But this guy look what he did in Tampa when they won a Stanley Cup, and he did a good job with the Rangers, and they made the playoffs. But he's a guy you're not going to have much that long. You bring this guy in, and he's a coach. He usually turns things around for a few years, and then he's gone. But they want to spark. You see a lot of teams do that. Usually they just let the assistant coach take over. But here they brought in a guy with experience. We'll see. But, I mean, Cassidy did a very good job. I mean, you know, they were in the playoffs, and, you know, they didn't win. They only won once, but I think they were in the final. Well, that's right. There was a different coach back then. But the resume is pretty good, and guys like that are hard to find. But it would be so ironic if the Bruins said, you know what, we made a mistake. We're bringing Cassidy back, just like LSU brought Will Wade back.
Yeah, it's funny how Mitch mentions, of course, the Boston Bruins. Look, there's going to be suitors all over the place. I made the joke on X yesterday that I think Bruce Cassidy is going to be unemployed for maybe a grand total of 1 or 2 days, right? I think that's basically going to be the case because it's not just the Bruins. There's teams like the Oilers, the Los Angeles Kings, which, by the way, right, Jose and Mitch, would be just kind of comical because you would have him coaching not just in the NHL, but he'd be coaching not just in the Western Conference, but coaching in the same division as the Vegas Golden Knights. That would be something that would be intriguing as all get out. But Jose, no question about it that this is something that absolutely sent shockwaves through the spines of all things VGK and especially and even throughout the NHL.
And the biggest thing is that everything I hear on radio and everything that I'm reading, it sounds like we're pointing the finger at Bruce, right? Like if Bruce was the guy, but I think he's more of kind of the scapegoat. I mean, why isn't anyone pointing the finger at Kelly McCrimmon? This is his roster. He constructed it. He put these players together. You're not going to go out there and fire your players, right? Obviously, that's not going to happen. So obviously, the first thing you got to do is fire your coach and get him out of there. If we're looking at his resume and his record, the guy's averaging over 100 points almost every season as a head coach, which is just unheard of, right? It's something that, yes, he's not going to win the Stanley Cup every single year, but you've been in existence since 2007, right? 2017. Wait, 2007.
17.
And now you're already on your third, going on your fourth coach. That's not a good look. I get it. You set the standard as a franchise organization, what an expansion franchise should do, and I get all that. But now you're in the big boy leagues. Now you're going to move forward. Let someone continue to build this. You just got back from the Olympic break. I get it. Every team has to deal with what's going on with the Olympic break, right? It just so happens that Bruce probably got hit harder than any other coach. He has to deal with it more, and their record shows they're not winning games. They're losing games in a horrible fashion. Me personally, I don't think Bruce should have gone. I think Kelly just used him as a scapegoat.
Mitch, of course, here we go. John Tortorella here in Vegas. Look, this is the VGK. This is the entertainment capital of the world. And now we're getting a coach that, look, Bruce, it's not like Bruce Cassidy was some meek, not explaining his opinions or viewpoints or takes type of coach. But we're getting John Tortorella now here in Vegas. Now, look, when it comes to his resume, he has won a Stanley Cup. He did it back in the early 2000s with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's had stops in multiple places, most recently, obviously, with the Philadelphia Flyers, in which he was let go in 2025, I believe, in midseason around 2025, last time he coached in the league. So a very short period of time. Has done a lot of TV work. What do you think, Mr. Gibbs, when it comes to all things John Tortorella taking the reins here, if maybe for a short period of time or maybe not as the head coach of VGK?
Well, he reminds me of one of my favorite movies, Pulp Fiction. I think it was one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yes. Absolutely.
There was a guy that they had to make a phone call to clear up a problem, the Wolf, and he took care of the situation. Harvey Keitel was one of the most brilliant 10, 15-minute performances on cinema I've ever seen, and maybe he's that guy. He's like, all right, there's a little bit of a mess. I don't think it's a real big mess, but there's a little bit of a mess. And the Wolf took care of business in Pulp Fiction. Maybe they feel like he's the guy. But he's not going to be here that long. I promise you that. He never stays anywhere that long. So maybe he does clean it up and they make a nice run in the playoffs. I don't know. I think anybody gets to the playoffs can win the Stanley Cup. You know how it is. Unlike most other leagues, you just got to get in the top 8 and then you got a shot. And so I think that's it. And then the guy's got the personality, which is perfect for Vegas. I mean, there's no town except for maybe New Orleans that's like Vegas, where personality, people love guys with personality. I think if they win, I think the Vegas fans are going to love this guy.
Mitch, we really appreciate you spending some time on a Monday. Follow Mitch Gibbs at Mitch_Gibby on the X Machine. Does a great job covering all things New Orleans Saints, all things LSU sports, whether it's a Red Zone radio show, whether it's, the LSU radio show down there in the Bayou. Outstanding. Always love having your opinions and takes on Sports X Radio out here in Vegas. And we'll see you soon, Mr. Gibbs, when you get out here to Sin City and catch some VGK action, my friend.
Yeah, we got to do some stuff beyond the game. We got to party and go to a couple of nice places as well.
No question about it. Have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you again soon, okay?
All right, thanks. Good talking to you guys.
Yeah, Mitch Gibbs joining us here live on Sports X Radio. He'll chime in. We didn't even get to like a lot of the LSU stuff. We can get he's not afraid. And as you saw, right, Jose Volante, right at the start of the interview, he already wanted to toss out the hot take of his thoughts when it comes to coaches and beyond. Never short of opinionated viewpoints when it comes to Mr. Mitch Gibbs.
And that's what makes good radio.
It does make good radio. 1 hour down, folks. Another hour on the way. We have our guy Tom Barton joining us from TomBartonSports.com. Going to talk all things. Barton,
baseball.
Myself, Chuck over here. He doesn't have the gear on today, but he usually does. Sporting some type of Chicago Cubs gear, as his boys from the north side are rolling strong in the National League Central. My Detroit Tigers, they're only 2-1 right now. Only 2-1. Only taking 2 out of 3 against the Friars down there in San Diego. And we got an old face back in where he belongs on the bump tonight in Arizona against the Diamondbacks as Justin Verlander makes his first appearance as a Detroit Tiger in 3,000 plus days, gentlemen. So Tiger fans are all pumped up. We'll talk baseball, talk Final Four, and much, much more with Tom Barton on the other side. It's Sports X Radio coming your way live from the PSR Law Studios here in Las Vegas. KSHP in Las Vegas, 107.1 on the FM side, 1400 on the AM side, streaming on the World Wide Web at KSHP, SHP website, as well as the app, as well as sportsxradio.com. Much more in hour 2 on the way next.
Daily free play, bonuses, and more with a chance to win Raiders and Aviators tickets, big money with all those jackpots. It's not only a great gaming inside the clubhouse, it's also rotating draft beers, the best appetizers of that. So join us in watching your baseball Aviators all your home sports team, and we make history in Vegas. Cider, Nevada South Club at 84 fans, 1754 Buffalo, and Las Vegas for Northern Windmill. Cider, I love this place.
Are you shy, smiling, terrified of eating food tougher than tofu? Do you wish there was some sort of reverse tooth fairy that puts teeth back into your mouth? If so, the AQ Dental Implant Center might be able to help. AQ is an in-network provider for medical dental plan and one of the most technically advanced dental offices in the world. Dr. Pericoglu is an internationally recognized expert in implant dentistry, and AQ's on-site lab is your custom implant, dentures, bridges, crowns, and more are ready faster and fit better. Call AQ Dental for a free consultation at 702-565-6000 or visit AQDentureService.com. That's 702-565-6000. Dr. Pericoglu may not be the first tooth fairy, but he can help restore your smile to its former glory. New smile, new you. Just call AQ. There's super, and then there's super. The super Look at Westgate, Las Vegas, the largest, most exciting racing sports week in the world. Home of the Super Contest and Super Contest Gold, the largest wagering menu in the world. 4K electricity, free Wi-Fi, convenient parking right outside the book. The Westgate Super Bowl in the App Store. Anywhere. Out-of-state live. The Super Contest, Las Vegas. Today, 4-6 Radio. You can call 1
Hey, bartender, what's the latest? I learned to all on the rock.
Whoa, finally, some promo that's actually cool. That's the best promotional items you've ever seen. Frisbees, jerseys, golf stuff, flash drives, 2 bucks gear, and all with your logo. Whoa! Set up a free consultation with one of their expert promoters. Then pick the swag that's got you written all over it, and whoa! You've got the coolest swag in town. Visit whopromos.com. WHOA promos.com. They've got offices in Los Angeles and Las Vegas, and even have a Fortune 500 client. They do lots of international business too. Call 888-725-8242. That's easy. 888-725-8242. Or visit whopromos.com. With thousands of selections, fast delivery times, and prices to fit all budgets, you, your customers, and potential customers will be saying whoa in no time. Visit whopromos.com today. WHOA promos.com, and start saying whoa. Think all guitars are pretty much the same? They're not. The guitars from Wild Audio are better, bolder, stunningly beautiful, and offer a playability unmatched by even the legacy guitars. Wild Audio guitars, tailor-made for Black Label Society frontman and Pantera reunion guitarist Zakk Wylde. Guitars from Wild Audio come in the most amazing shapes and finishes. Then when you plug them in, wow, the sound, the fret reach, the playability. CY Slash, Kirk Hammett, Brad Paisley, and more are wild about their Wild Audio guitars. And they've got basses, acoustic guitars, accessories, and left-handed instruments too. Wild Audio guitars for craftsmanship, durability, versatility, and oh my God, the sound. Visit wild-audio.com. That's WYLDE-audio.com. And go wild. Welcome back from halftime. It's just after 5 o'clock in the big city. Time to continue America's favorite Las Vegas sports show, Sports X Radio with Ken Thompson.
Yeah, what up? Party's going on.
Going to a party!
Sports X Radio with Ken Thompson is brought to you by Hannah Shea and Ravapuni. Trial lawyers that get results. Dom DeMarco's Pizzeria and Wine Bar. Visit domdemarcos.com. Taste the quality. The Westgate Superbook. It's the largest in the world. Crescent School of Gaming and Bartending. The only school of its kind in the U.S. Steiner's Pub, a true Nevada-style pub. And by Whoa Promos. WHOA promos.com. Start saying whoa. So get ready, because Sports X Radio with Ken Thompson starts now.
Hour number 2 rolling strong at Sports X Radio, going live, KSHP here in Las Vegas, 107.1 on the FM side. Find us at AM 1400 on the AM side, streaming on the World Wide Web at the KSHP brand new, spanking new app, as well as at sportsxradio.com. Chris Winn, Jose Vellante in for Ken Thompson. All the best to Ken and his family. Getting a chance to go back to his home state, the Garden State there in New Jersey, spend time with his sister who's recovering, get a chance to see some of the nieces, the nephews, the family, and he'll be back coming up on Wednesday. And so KT back in the mix when it comes to all things sports. I'm sure KT's probably a little bit irked that he's not here in Vegas because of all things going on here in Las Vegas and across the board when it comes to the sports world. Of course, the Final Four is set, folks. You had the Elite Eight action going down over the weekend on Saturday and Sunday. One of the games ending in absolutely positively dramatic, has to be March Madness fashion, right? As the UConn Huskies get it done against one of the number one seeds, the Duke Blue Devils. So now the four teams headed to Indianapolis for the Final Four. You've got two number ones and two teams that are not exactly Cinderellas by any stretch of the imagination getting set to go at it. Oh, by the way, over the weekend, we had the Major League Baseball season. First pitches all over the place across the board. And so baseball fans got a chance to see their squads hit the field for the first time. You had, of course, some action across the board. Got to give a shout out to Gary Woodland, who from the PGA Tour got his first PGA Tour win since his diagnosis from cancer in the Texas Open over the weekend. Pretty emotional stuff. It doesn't even matter if you're really a golf person or if you're really like a huge fan of the sport. It was really cool just from a human standpoint to kind of see him, what he's gone through, see him and his family get a chance to kind of celebrate that first PGA Tour win in a long time. So congrats to Gary Woodland there as well, too. Of course, we're coming down the stretch when it comes to the NBA season and the Stanley Cup. Of course, we have the big news here in Vegas with the firing of Bruce Cassidy and the hiring of John Tortorella. And so much to get to with our guy. He's one of our favorites, does a tremendous job, whether he's a host here with Heatwave Sports on Fox Sports Radio here in Las Vegas on the weekends, 10 to midnight with that show, whether he is talking all things from a handicap standpoint with TomBartonSports.com. Tom Barton joining us here on SportsX Radio on this Monday. Tommy, we appreciate you having me. And hey, let's be honest, we could probably do like a 6-hour show about everything that's kind of transpired over the last 24 hours. But we're glad to get you at the 5 o'clock hour Pacific time, 8 o'clock your side on a Monday to talk some sports.
Yeah, it's been a great show so far. And I got to tell you guys, it really is. It's kind of a whirlwind. This is supposed to be like down days before the Final Four, right? This is supposed to be like the relax, right? Yeah, nothing to talk about. Yeah, let's try to fill the show up. I mean, bombs just all over the place to start it off.
Yeah, and no question. Look, we saw when Michigan was going to be able to handle their business over the weekend, right? You had the Big Ten battle with Illinois knocking off Iowa, despite the fact that the Hawkeyes had that lead in the first half. But then you kind of move over to Sunday, my friend, and it's kind of a hold my beer moment when it comes to all things UConn at Duke. We got to get Tommy Barton's take. Obviously, you and I and, you and KT, we talked about, kind of the comparisons of Tom Izzo and Danny Hurley as head coaches. And a lot of it's tongue-in-cheek. A lot of it, is kind of opinionated. And we have our takes. We have our viewpoints, right? But got to get Tom Barton's opinion on how that ending comes down. Mullins was onions, as Bill Rafferty would like to say. Knock it down a Steph Curry-esque 3 to win the game for the Huskies after they were pretty much dead in the water. All Boozer has to do is hold on to the basketball, and Duke, as a number one seed, advances and just pisses off everybody that's not a Duke fan and gets to the Final Four. Tom Barton's take on the Huskies able to pull out that improbable win against the Blue Devils on Sunday.
Oh, listen, I told you guys before the tournament, the two best coaches in college basketball were in the Big East, and they still are in the Big East, right? Pitino and Hurley, that's it. And I don't want to keep sitting back and say, I told you so. But if you've been listening week after week after week, I said, don't count out UConn. Don't count out Hurley. Here we go. I know me and you had it out, about Michigan State and Izzo. Look, it's miraculous at this point. To really take it back, you have to kind of look at what this man has done. He didn't propel himself, over a 10, 15, 20-year span. We are talking about him being one of the top, 10 best coaches of all time in like a 5 or 6 year span. It's ridiculous what he's done. And now, you go back from a generational type of run. He's 17-1 in his last 18 tournament games straight up. 17-1 against the spread, by the way. And his only loss was a 2-point spread to the eventual 2-point game to the eventual national champs. I mean, this guy, he's crazy on the sidelines. He's headbutting referees. He's a maniac. He's a psychopath. He's everything else that you want to say.
Yeah.
But he's a damn good coach, right? And I mean, at the end of the day, when you're talking about what he has talent level, it's not to the Dukes. It's not to Duke's level. Let's just be honest. It's not to a lot of teams that he's beaten over this stretch. So you have to look at the onions. Mullins is a great story. The onions, the bad play by Duke. There's a million things that you could talk about. But the one constant through all the years with UConn is that Hurley is at the forefront. And Hurley takes a team that probably shouldn't be there. And here they are. They're here.
We talked to Josh Pastner, Jose, and Tommy about he laid it out. And I think a lot of us are in agreement. Arizona and Michigan are the two best teams left in the big dance. But you've got Illinois, you've got UConn there, Tommy. Obviously, because of how the bracket's set up, we're probably not going to get we're not going to get the top two teams facing off against each other on Monday night. But what do you think? I mean, out of the two teams, whether it's Illinois or UConn, who has the best chance to knock off maybe the Wildcats or the Wolverines when it comes to winning a national championship?
I've said it time and time again. I think that Illinois is the best team in the country when they play their best, which isn't always, right? I think that we'd be looking at Illinois quite a bit different if they didn't lose to Wisconsin in a game that we want to talk about the Duke foul calls. Me and you talked about this, Chris. It was the most egregious game I've ever seen. Boyd was literally lowering his head, driving to the basket, and just getting called a foul. So much so they stopped the game. To go, what is he doing? The announcers were going, my goodness, this isn't even basketball. And that was Illinois' last loss. And that was the one kind of real blemish that knocked them down to a 3 seed, as opposed to being a 2 and maybe fighting for that 1 seed had they beaten, won the Big Ten and beaten Michigan. I think their size, I think that what they do under the basket, I think their foul shooting, I think everything with Illinois says they can compete with Arizona. They can compete with Michigan. I think remember, they did beat Michigan, by the way. They are on par with both of these teams. Here's the problem. I want to talk about onions. How can anyone bet against Danny Hurley right now? You know what I mean? Like, if Illinois does get there, I'm giving them a punch or two. If it's Illinois against Michigan, I'm probably going to be taking the points. I'm assuming it's going to be 5, 5.5, 6 points. I'll take the points. If it's Illinois against Arizona, probably about the same spread, right? 5-5. I'll probably take the points. I think Illinois has a better chance to do it. But I'm not touching a 17-1 in the mark. I don't have the onions to go against Hurley in that spot.
Tommy, Chris talked about it. We're not going to have the two number 1 teams basically playing each other at the end, how everybody would want it. But that kind of changes the landscape of the way college basketball is right now, wouldn't you say, overall? Because the big topic of conversation is the Cinderellas. It's not the same anymore, right? We don't have those stories as we used to. So do you think the college landscape has changed overall based off of the matchups and the teams that we still have left?
Yeah, absolutely. I wrote a story about this in the South Shore Press, the newspaper that I write for. I wrote about this before the year began, and then I wrote about this right before the tournament. And I said, we're in a new world, okay? Forget about Cinderellas coming out. We're going to have boring weekends. We kind of saw a lot of that, right? I mean, we did. The NIL has killed the understanding of basic Cinderella. But before we go crazy here, we really don't have any real Cinderellas, okay? Take away NC State, that was, an 8 seed? There hasn't been a 9, 10, 11. They're never in this spot. They're never winning a championship. Maybe they get to a Final Four and it's a nice run like Butler did that year. But generally speaking, I think we're in the time where this is what you want. I didn't want 4 number 1s, okay? And I'm an advocate of I want to see the best against the best. But I didn't want 4 number 1s because I wasn't sure Duke was the best team in the country. I didn't want 4 number 1s. I wasn't positive Florida was the best team in the country. I wasn't sure Purdue was the best team. I wasn't sure Michigan was the best team. The only team that I really thought that was really going to be here was Arizona. I thought when healthy, Arizona is the best team, and now they're finally getting healthy. But you tell me 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a month ago that Hurley and UConn's going to be here, I go, okay, I think the Big East is definitely underrated, and they could certainly be there. Maybe they are the best team in the country. Illinois, there was a large point of the season where I was on with Ken screaming and yelling that Illinois was a top 2 or 3 team in the country. So I don't think it's that far off from, I know you said, Jose, it's not what everybody wants. I don't think it's going to be that far off from what everybody wants. I think no matter what happens, whoever comes out of this field, it's not that much separation. I don't see Arizona here and everybody else here, or Michigan here and everybody else here. I think it's pretty darn close. I think we're going to get a good national championship, whatever it winds up being.
Tom Barton joining us here on Sports X Radio. Follow him at Tom Barton Sports on the X Machine. Does a tremendous job also as the host of Heatwave Sports Down the Dial here in Vegas on Fox Sports Radio in Las Vegas on the weekend. So let's talk about the numbers, Tom. You're right. You take a look at these matchups. The early game is going to be Illinois against those UConn Huskies, right? That's like 3 o'clock local tilt here in Vegas. And then, of course, Michigan, Arizona, the late game. You look at the numbers. Obviously, you got single-digit low spreads on these tilts with right now Illinois a short favorite in that game. But you just talked about it. Look, Tommy just waxed Jose Poetic about all things Danny Hurley, right? And this UConn team. Are there going to be people going to the window and maybe bringing that line even further down when it comes to UConn Huskies in this matchup against the Illini, who haven't been to a Final Four? I think the last time was, 2005 with the other D. Brown, right, for Illinois. And, of course, they were that 1989 team that went to the Final Four with Marcus Liberty, Nick Anderson, and Kendall Gill as well, too. But what do you think about this matchup, particularly between UConn and Illinois first?
Well, look, I mean, you want to talk to Tom Barton, the sports handicapper, or do you want to talk to Tom Barton, the sports talk host? Because everything in me, Chris, tells me Illinois is the better team, right? They have more size. They're a more disciplined team. They played probably better competition, at least in conference. Looking at the schedules, they're relatively close. I like their bigs. I like the international flavor they bring. I like all of that. But it's Danny Hurley. I mean, it's just Hurley at this point. Everything that I just said gets thrown out the window because that was Duke, right? I mean, it was Duke. And you could say that about St. John's. I told you guys about St. John's as well. I mean, by every metric, UConn was better than St. John's. They split the season series. I would have loved to see another one. They split the last 2 games. I would have loved to see a third UConn, St. John's. These Big East teams that are really well coached, and that's Pitino and that's Hurley, gives an advantage that it's really hard to handicap. It's really hard to go near. And I will say this, look, if you just look at the X's and O's, and I'm a guy that watches film, Illinois is the better team. But there's no world that you could get me to bet against UConn right here. I mean, you just can't. I had them on the money line this weekend. I had UConn, and it was me going, it's Hurley. I have write-ups for my members at TomBartonSports.com. I have levels. I have write-ups for every single game that I give out. And they're detailed write-ups. They're analytics. They're what I'm watching. They're what I'm seeing. My write-up was basically, listen, guys, it's Hurley. They have worse players. They should get blown out. Everything that I see, but I'm not going against UConn. And I know it sounds silly, but when you have a coach that's this dynamic and now the track record is there, it's hard to go against him, even though I do think Illinois is the better squad.
In the other matchup, of course, you got the two programs that have been talked about all season long as legitimate national championship contenders, right? Michigan's a team that, despite the injury, right, to a key guy, they've been able to kind of go through this tournament almost business as usual. You got to give credit where credit is due. Dusty May's done a tremendous job there in Ann Arbor with this team. It seems like they can play at anybody's pace. They can switch up their game against whatever opponent they're going against. And Arizona, though, is absolutely positively right there with them when you're talking about the NBA level type of talent that the Wildcats bring to the table. You take a look at the line, and that expresses every single example of why these two teams are so evenly matched. And it almost feels like, Tommy, despite the fact that the Wolverines are a short favorite in this game, that this has every bit of an indication that this is kind of a toss-up type of matchup between Michigan and Arizona.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll harken back to, the headline of the show is Ken Thompson, right? About a month and a half ago, 5 weeks ago, he was adamant. He was pounding the table that Arizona has the best 1 through 8 in the league, in the country, right? They have the best 1 through 8. And I think that really holds true. They really do. When they're healthy, they have the best 1 through 8. I've not been a believer in Michigan all year, but it's hard to go against. What have they done this tournament? It's 90 points with their eyes shut, right? Meanwhile, Arizona's defense has actually stepped up during the tournament. Now, we know Arizona can throw up 100 on you anytime, but the defense, I think this is one of those weird situations where I lean Arizona because they can play 2 styles. If this gets into a little bit of a grinded out game and they're able to make it a little ugly and it's a game that's played into the high 70s, I think Arizona has a better chance to win than Michigan. But if Michigan wants to run and Michigan dares you to go, hey, look, we're going to score 90. Can you score 91? Arizona's going to turn around and go, all right, okay, I like that too. where I don't think Michigan could play a slowed down game. I don't think Michigan's winning this game if it's 75-73. So he leans slightly towards Arizona, but you said it the best. The line is an indicator. I mean, this is a coin flip game. I was stunned in the first game where almost 60% of people are going on Illinois, which I thought it was a lot of UConn money. This is 51-49 as of about an hour ago. I checked before we jump on the air. 51-49. Nobody knows what to do with this game. I'm surprised it's 1.5. It should just be a flat 1, right? Just give it a pick 'em. I think it is a flat game. Look, I'm one of those guys that sometimes you overthink things. Are we looking at the over here, guys? Pretty obviously. I mean, I know it's a championship game. I know the Final Four tends to play unders. I get that Arizona wants to play an under. But the number's not egregious. It's not 170s or something. I think both of these teams probably get to the 80s, and that means it's a coin flip game. I'll lean Arizona just because they can play different styles.
So, Tommy, obviously, we know who you're going with when it comes to UConn, Illinois. Obviously, we're not going to ask you how you're going to handicap that side of the game because you kind of give us already a little sign of who you might go with. But you read my mind. I was looking at this Michigan game, and that line is just – it's one of those games where how – do you take either side, right, with the line being at where it's at? So you kind of already broke it down a little. Maybe you touched the total here. But in your eyes, how do you handicap a game like this that is so close when it comes to the money movement, when it comes to the number? It's just right there.
Here's what I like to do, okay? When I have a championship game like this, and me and Chris, we've been talking about this for years. People come up to me and they go, wait, you're a professional sports handicapper. Who do you like in the Super Bowl? And I go, I don't know. Don't really like anybody. What do you mean? Oh, I'm going to make money that day, but I might not like a side. I might not like a total. I'll pick a prop play. I'll pick a something else, right? The big misconception is that you have to go crazy today. I would rather bet on, a Belmont Harvard game, where on a Tuesday night I have an option than this. But that being said, there's ways to kind of skew the line and move things in your favor. Team totals are something I really like. If you like the pace of Michigan and you go, look, I think there's no way Arizona's slowing Michigan down. Like I said, maybe Michigan scores 90 and we lose by, Arizona scores 92. There's a team total for you. You take the Michigan team total. Take a shot there. If you think it's going to be a slowdown game, perhaps you go Michigan team total under if you like Arizona, something like that. That's probably what I'm going to do in this UConn game, right? You look at that total. I don't love the total a little bit. I think it's going to be a little faster paced than I think people expect because that's what Illinois does. Okay, maybe I turn around and I take a team total. This is how you turn around and you kind of get your advantage with the sports handicappers against the books, right? The public against the books. How about first half lines? Right? Take a look at that first half. Well, these two teams don't know each other well. They're going to be sparring it out. Not a lot of fouls. One team relies on the foul shooter. Okay, let's cancel all that out. I'm just going to take a first half line. Right? Yeah. What about a team jumping out of the gates? Let's do first team to 10 points. Right? That made a lot of money with the Siena, by the way. First team to 10 points. Let's see if I can get something there. This is the way that you really have to handicap. You can't just go in a world where you're going, okay, I don't like this team. It's a good spread, but I'm going to make a bet anyway. No, there are options, and let's just evaluate what options we want.
It's a huge show Monday coming away live, SportsX Radio from KSHB here in Las Vegas. Chris Winn, Jose Vellante, joined by our guy, Tom Barton, founder of Tom Barton Sports, does a great job, all things sports handicapping, as well as hosting when it comes to sports talk radio across the board. He's not afraid to unload some takes, baby, and that's what we love here on SportsX Radio. Let's make the transition, Tommy. You, yourself, Jose, Justin, Chuck, all baseball guys, okay? Talk some diamond action. There's been some storylines across the board since your New York Yankees took on the San Francisco Giants to open up the season midweek last week. Whether it's Jays pitchers just going out there striking everybody out, right? 50 Ks in the first 3 games for all things Toronto pitchers. Whether it's Mets fans in your neck of the woods, Tom Barton booing Bichette as this guy continues to strike out at a lightning clip there at Citi Field with the New York Mets. And then, of course, all things, penny. Yeah, and it's worth every penny, right? With all things the Mets. And then there's the ball strike challenge rule, kind of rocking baseball right now, Tommy, right? Whether baseball's new ABS system kind of becoming the talk of the sport. What is Tom Barton? What are some of the kind of early flashpoints for you when it comes to all things Major League Baseball as we got the season started with the first pitch coming up last midweek with your New York Yankees and Giants?
Well, the undisputed best player in baseball already has 2 home runs in Aaron Judge. That's fantastic. I like how people
undisputed, Jose Vellante.
Undisputed. Not even a question. I see the Dodgers jersey. We don't include part-time players.
No.
We don't include part-time.
Technically, it's a Kobe jersey.
There it is. It's a Kobe Bryant Dodgers jersey. Yeah.
Kobe would never play only one way. Kobe would never be a part-time player.
Jose, Tom Barton hasn't seen Kevin McGonigal play this season, apparently, right? He's talking about
listen, I'm a big fan.
I'm a big fan. Come on, Tommy. You knew I had to throw that out there a little bit.
I'm a big fan. They're one of those guys I scooped up in my leagues. But guys, wait, is it me? And here we go. Old man yelling at a cloud, right? You asked me some of my baseball takes.
Out on the porch, your mid-julep. Yep.
But I can't stand this TV nonsense. Right? You got Netflix is coming on, then a Peacock channel the other night, and you got to go find this. If you want to grow the sport, and that's all they keep screaming, grow the sport, grow the sport. I am the demographic. I have a 12-year-old boy living in my house, okay, that loves baseball. I just came back from baseball practice. You can't watch it. He could not watch Yankee opening day. Not that we don't have Netflix, but the thing started at 8:30 at night. Then you got to go look over for the next game, and Sunday Night Baseball's on a different channel. What are they doing? Look, I know Manfred has shot himself in the foot many times, and I have been the biggest advocate of ripping this man apart. But We Have Baseball has now overtaken, as far as viewership and downloads, overtaken the NBA as the number 2 sport. That's one of the biggest stories that came out this week. They are the number 2 sport, despite Manfred shooting himself in the foot all the time. We've got to grow the sport. This is a travesty. Is it as bad where I am as it is where you guys are?
I agree with you. I was thinking the exact same thing over opening weekend. There were games that I'm trying to watch that I'm going like, why can't I have access to this game or certain other games? And then there's so many different packages and things that you have to buy now. They're streaming this and streaming that. So I agree with you, man. I wish they would find a way to get it together and just have one type of, channel or something that they have it set completely where they're not jumping back and forth and doing all this streaming stuff. Because honestly, man, it's changing the game a lot. Some people still watch local TV. Some people still have cable and satellite. I get that. So not everyone is out there streaming. Why are we trying? I get it. It's the new age to switch it up, but you still got to hit that same demographic that's used to what they're used to, and they're not doing that right now.
And there's no uniformity, right, when it comes to these streaming services, which is what a lot of people are using now, right? A lot of people have cut the cord, so it doesn't matter if you're using Fubo, if you're using YouTube TV, if you're using all these services. A lot of times you don't have an option to get at Peacock, right? So we're in a kind of unique situation, Tommy, as you know, and of course Jose and Numchuck know. We're here in Vegas, right? So, worst comes to worst, I can just roll up to my local watering hole or local sports book, and they're going to have all this stuff available. But to Tommy, your point, right? When you're in other parts of the country where you don't have that type of access, it's got to be frustrating for baseball fans across the board to be able to get out and get a chance to kind of see your team or see games that are supposed to be like national, quote unquote, nationally televised games. And they're not because of, kind of the options and the directions they're going when it comes to the streaming services and the deals that they're making from a media standpoint in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, opening day, you got one night game, standalone game. Dumb, but okay. Then the next day you go, cool, I'm going to wake up. I got to have all day baseball. Every team is playing. No. Only some of the teams are playing. All right, then Friday. All the teams are like, no. No Friday. Okay, that's cool. Saturday, we're going to have a bunch of day games. No. They're going to start later on in the day. I mean, it's just, like you said, Chris, it's not even that they're not available. There's no uniformity. Right. It's gotten so bad. I don't know if you guys saw it. You might want to check out my YouTube, my X account, right? It's Tom Barton Sports. I put it up. The Yankees, the Yes Network, have a commercial with Larry David on it now. And he's screaming into his phone, yes, network for the game. And the irony is, Larry, you could scream into the Yes Network phone all you want. The Yankees were not on Yes Network on opening day, right? So, I mean, it's gotten so funny that people are now mocking it. And if Major League Baseball wants to keep up this meteoric rise, they've taken over the number 2. They really are in a good spot. Young guys, exciting, everything's great. International stars like Shohei, and you have it all in front of you. Just don't shoot yourself in the foot and let people watch the games, and they just can't get out of their way of their own greed.
Tommy Barton joining us here on SportsX Radio. Chris Winn, Jose Vellante on this huge show Monday. News across the board. You talked about baseball being number 2. Obviously, number 1 is the National Football League, Tommy. We have the NFL owners meetings going on in Arizona, and there's been some things that have come out of that. One of those being, right, Tommy and Jose and Numchuck and beyond, shocker to nobody ever, the Super Bowl coming back to Vegas, Tommy. 2029, it'll be back at Allegiant Stadium. I want to get your take when it comes to this because, look, if you want Chris Winn's take on it, I think it should be kind of a rotating thing among, 5 or 6 kind of destination location cities where they have the Super Bowl every year. Just your take that the Super Bowl is coming back to Las Vegas in 2029.
I like that it's coming back. I like that it rotates. It is good. Vegas obviously has everything that you want for it, enough hotel room spaces and things like that. Yeah, I mean, you hear the nightmares about what happened in Jacksonville. When I was in Nashville for the FCS championship game. Everybody was saying they're building the new stadium because I was like, man, that's a great stadium. If you stand on top of the buildings in Nashville, on top of the bars in the buildings, you could see inside the stadium, the old stadium. Now they're building a wall. And why are they building a new stadium? It's a good stadium. Oh, we want the Super Bowl, right? So getting the Super Bowl is huge for Vegas. I like that it's rotating venues. I just wish that they would go outside in the cold some more. I'm sorry. I am not a dome guy. I don't like the artificial turf. Give me the snow. Give me an open air, stadium in Green Bay. And I don't like Green Bay. Give me a Lambeau Field Super Bowl. That would be cool. And I get it. Logistically, it's not good. It's not good for money and everything else. But I like it. I do like that it's coming back to Vegas, and it should be in the rotation. It seems like they are now. Vegas is in the constant rotation. You guys will get it every, 5-6 years or so.
Yeah. I agree with Tommy, though. I think that the fact that we should play it in every element. You play every regular season game in every element. I get it. You're a dome team. You're going to play in a dome half of your regular season. But when you're outside, you're playing whether rain, snow, sleet, whatever the hell is out there, you guys are playing. So why not keep that same energy on a Super Bowl? Granted, not every year. I get that. But a Super Bowl shouldn't be, oh, we're good. We have perfect fielding. We have all this set up. It's another grind, another game. You got to go out there and compete regardless. So I agree with Tommy. Let's mix it up a little bit.
Well, look, I'm soaking up what both you guys are saying, but you guys know the NFL is not doing that. They're not going to. And look,
Chris, they tried it.
Tommy, they tried it. In your neck of the woods, they had it in New York City, right?
And that reason and that year was why they'll never do it again. So New York, for those that don't know, New York had the Super Bowl. What was it?
New Jersey.
Yeah, 6 years ago. So New York had the Super Bowl 6 or 7 years ago. They had the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl went on without no problem. 2 days later, about a day and a half later, it was the worst snowstorm in like 10 years in New York. People couldn't get around. Everything shut down. And from the people that I knew in the NFL offices, they were like, well, there you go. We'll never get it back in New York because they were so afraid. What if this was 48 hours before time?
Yeah. I mean, look, when I was talking about rotation, right? Obviously, the obvious cities come to mind, right? It's Vegas, it's LA, it's probably Arizona,
New Orleans,
and
Atlanta.
Miami, right? Those are the ones that immediately come to mind.
Detroit, you don't think Detroit's in that rotation?
Well, look, but it's
what about Jerry's
World? The thing is about those cities, and look, I'm gonna do
yes, Dallas.
I don't want to bag on my neck of the woods, right, guys? I don't. But I mean, are they? But Tommy Barton, Jose Volante, are they marquee cities that you really want to go to in February? No,
nobody wants to go to LA either.
You don't want to go to the Twin Cities. You don't want to go to Detroit. You don't. No. I mean, look, you don't even want to go to Chicago, right? That time of year,
But that new stadium might
with the Bears. Although the new stadium, right? That's going to be in it's going to be Northern Indiana, right?
Indiana.
Illinois. Technically, it's going to be in Indiana. But, I mean, the NFL, the big business of the NFL, they want to be in the LAs, the Vegases, the Miamis, the New Orleans.
And Tennessee will get in that rotation, guys. I got a good look at that stadium. That's going to be impressive.
They absolutely could. Tom Barton joining us here on SportsX Radio. Tommy, we really appreciate you spending some time on a Monday. Wow, so much going on across the board. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're just starting baseball season, baby. You got to love it as the guys get out there and I get a chance. A lot of nostalgia, Tom Barton, for us Tiger fans, getting a chance to see Justin Verlander on the hill for the first time in a handful of years, pitching tonight in Arizona against the Diamondbacks. And
did you take him?
Hey, Tommy, Numchuck is like a kid in a candy store right now. Got a little Cubs, got a little Angels action on. PCA just got on base. He's all types of fired up. And yes, Tommy, I did roll and put a little coin on my Detroit Tigers over there taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks tonight.
Yeah, so you got action. I
had a feeling. Tommy, there's no parlay action.
See, win special.
Why not with the Vegas Golden Knights who are minus 380 tonight?
Yeah, so you got to get it. Hey, Tommy, let's get a quick take on that.
What
are your thoughts, man? You let go of Bruce Cassidy as the head coach, and you don't just bring in just somebody, just anybody. You bring in John Tortorella, the Boston guy who coached with the Rangers, who coached with Tampa Bay, won a cup there, coached in Philly most recently. He's a bombastic, kind of big personality guy. What's Tom Barton's take on kind of the dramatic news that has transpired with VGK here in the last 24 hours?
Tortorella, I know him well, coming from the Rangers and what he did. And I always try to kind of come up with comparisons, and maybe it's because I've been married for, 15 years and I'm looking back to my single days. Right. But I'll say this, Tortorella is the girl that you go, listen, I ain't getting into a relationship with her, but I can have a lot of fun for a couple of years. Right. And that's exactly what he is. I think he's going to come in like a man on fire. He's going to light a flame under this team. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't, get a cup in the next 2 or 3 years, and then he's gone. You don't think that you're going to see him in 4 or 5 years. I don't think it's even going to be that long. I think he's quick, in, out, done. But when he's here, he improves the team, usually improves the team relatively quickly, has very, very quick success, and then he's out. I was shocked to hear the news that they got rid of Cassidy. I don't think he did a bad job. I mean, who am I to evaluate? But I don't think he did a bad job. I don't think it was time for him to go. But when they brought in Tortorella, I'm like, okay, now I understand why. I understand why they did that. And me and Tim always used to talk about this on our show, is that if you're going to fire somebody, you better have a reason and a guy in place that you go, okay, makes sense. If you're going to fire Cassidy, you bring in a guy like Tortorella. Go get immediate success. Go get us a cup this year or next year, and that's what we expect from you. And I think that's a lot of pressure on him, but like you said, he's the kind of guy that thrives with that.
But Tommy, isn't this a bad look, though? A franchise that's not even 10 years in yet, and you're already going on your 4th head coach? I mean, let's be real. Like, I get it. You got like we said it earlier, you got the cup. You've had the success. I get that. But at what point do you stick with someone and continue to grow this organization, and you take the bad and the good with it?
I think it's a really interesting argument, Jose, that you bring up, because I've been on both sides of it. Okay. I'm sitting here as a Yankee fan with Aaron Boone, that I think his time has passed years ago. And they keep screaming about loyalty. I think Brian Cashman should have been on years ago, but they keep screaming about loyalty, and they keep making the playoffs, and they keep, success. And there's a relatively a number of successful years, but you go, what does it take to get over the hump? I also lived through it. I'm using the baseball reference, Buck Showalter, where Buck came in, he was great right away, and they got rid of him because he didn't win like in 2 years. And you go, what's going on? Well, they didn't think he could do it. Bring in Joe Torre, and there you go. The championships were there. So I think that there are two sides to this. Yes, you want some consistency. Yes, you want to go with somebody. But if the organization is looking at this and going, all right, we want to win right now. They're saying, we don't care. We're not giving you a long leash. I think it's okay if you go in knowing that. Tortorella knows right now. He knows he took that job. You don't get 5 years, guy. You don't get 4 years. I don't know if you get 3 years. You better make us a winner immediately. Yeah. And I don't know if Cassidy knew that, but I get the feeling, because like you said, Jose, they've done this a couple of times now. I get the feeling that Cassidy knew that, and they weren't happy with the results. As a fan base, you get annoyed that there's no longevity. You get annoyed that there's no loyalty. But you can also get happy and say, you know what? I like that my ownership group is going, I'm not happy with just mediocrity. I'm not happy just making the playoffs. I want a cup. So you could look at it both sides. I'm not sure exactly even where I land in it.
Yep. And here's the thing on it, right? People talk about John Tortorella, that he gets the most out of teams very quickly, right? That's kind of been one of the storylines that has been talked about. And obviously, we're talking about a matter of hours since this has all transpired. But you look at the numbers, and our guy, Ken Bulkey, one of our colleagues here in Vegas from SinBud.com, points us out on X, by the way. Very interesting. History doesn't remember it that way when it comes to John Tortorella. His first 10 games in Philadelphia, 5-5, missed the playoffs. First 10 games in Columbus, 2-8, missed the playoffs. First 10 games in Vancouver, 5-4-1, and missed the playoffs. With the Rangers, he was 6-3-1. Went to the playoffs, but then lost in the first round, lost in 7 games in that first series. Tampa Bay, 1-9, missed the playoffs completely. New York, 0-3-1, missed the playoffs. So he's a combined 19-32. So while because of his personality and the way kind of his coaching style is, I know there's that perception that, oh yeah, he can be a guy maybe that can turn this around quickly. Let me tell you something, Tommy. I think you're accurate when you're saying that he could be a guy that could win a cup in a couple years, or, maybe next year or the year after. But let me tell you something, guys. He's not winning a cup this year for this team. The Golden Knights are not winning the cup, okay? They don't have the makeup. They don't have the goaltending. A number of people that talk hockey, that know hockey, from the Elliot Friedmans to beyond, et cetera, have mentioned and have been spot on when it comes to the goaltending of this team. Has not been up to par. They're not a Stanley Cup contending team. Can they make some noise in the West, maybe win a series? Yeah, they can. They could probably win a series in the West. But they're not beating the likes of Colorado or Dallas or Minnesota, or I think even Anaheim in the playoffs. So while I understand, as Tom, you alluded to, kind of the reason to bring him in, I don't necessarily think the immediate results will be there when it comes to John Tortorella being the head coach here with the VGK.
Well, what about the expectations, though? With Cassidy, and I'm asking you guys
Tommy, you know the deal. The expectations are through the roof here in Vegas. The fans, first of all, the fans are irrational, okay? And it's understandable because this franchise, right, Jose and Tommy and Nunchuck, has been unprecedented in their success. They have been.
Well, they also were handed everything, Chris.
They've won a Stanley Cup. What? They're 2 years plus removed from their first Stanley Cup.
Chris, the big bugaboo about them is they were handed everything.
100%.
They didn't start from zero.
Yeah, you're exactly right. But that's kind of the reason why that contributes to the reason why the fan base is, yes, I'll say it, is a little bit spoiled and irrational. Okay, the fan base. But as far as like the talking heads, right, the media and people around it, I mean, we cover it for what it is, and there's been a lot of adjectives, right, Tommy and Jose, that have been used in the last 24 hours, like words like reckless, desperate, and a word that I think is spot on, which is ruthless, right? This organization is ruthless. They will do anything that they perceive is going to get them to elevate it to another level, right? Or to be able to contend, to be able to get to a cup. And it's kind of looked at like it's something that's unique, that only that VGK does, that other National Hockey League franchises don't do, right, Tommy? They do.
Well, let me ask you this, and this is where I want to ask both of you guys.
Mm-hmm.
If Cassidy was still there, does one round of playoffs and gone suffice the fan base? And now if Tortorella's there, how much does he have to win more than Cassidy to kind of suffice? Let's not say Stanley Cup, because we all want a Stanley Cup, okay? Obviously, the fan base wants that. But let's be more realistic. I think if Cassidy won one playoff series this year, they were going to go, okay, that's fine. So I think Tortorella walks in and it's like, no, you got to win two. You know, you don't have to win the cup this year, but you got to win two. That's how I look at it. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, if you're looking at it as a fan, obviously the fans are going to want you to win regardless, whether it's Bruce Cassidy or Tortorella. But at the end of the day, I think a first round win would be good for the fans. But if we're talking about the overall expectations, if you're taking over this team and the word is that you're a quick starter and you can get everything out of everybody quick, you got to win these first two rounds, in my opinion, at least. At that point, it's a failure if you don't. You know what I mean? Because you literally got rid of a guy that had success. And I get it, not having the success now, but you're telling me that the guy you're bringing in is going to win now. So if you don't win now, I'm saying first two rounds, you got to win, Tommy. That's my opinion.
Totally for me, look, here's my take on it, Tommy, because we don't know all the inner workings, right, when it comes to the personalities and the interactions when it comes to George McPhee, Kelly McCrimmon, and Bruce Cassidy. And, oh, by the way, the key guys on the team, right, the Jack Eichels, the Mark Stones. We don't know the specifics of why this had to happen now, right? Because a lot of people are talking about that, right? 8 games left in the season. Why now? Right? Because to your point, Tom, you brought up, okay, what if they got to the playoffs, they lose in the first round, or they lose in the second round? Does it give Kelly McCrimmon a rationale, right, to keep Bruce Cassidy as the head coach and move forward and say, oh, look, we didn't get it done this year, but we still have faith in Bruce being the guy? Or was there some extenuating circumstances with players, where did you have a Jack Eichel go to a Kelly McCrimmon or someone and say, look, we don't know, or a Mark Stone, who's the captain, right? Go to a Kelly McCrimmon, or is there any type of that? And look, in fairness, we don't know about that interaction. I'm not sitting here acting like I'm an expert and that I know. I've covered the team since day one, but I don't cover the team every day. I'm not at all the practices. Okay, I cover most of the games, and obviously I talk about it on the air. Yeah, I covered the team since day one. There are there's a number of reasons why probably this happened now as opposed to the end of the season. It was my viewpoint, Tom Barton and Jose Vellante, is that I thought this is absolutely something that could have happened after the season, right? Regardless of what the result was, because they were not going to win the Stanley Cup. I think they're going to get into the playoffs, whether it's Tortorella or Bruce Cassidy. I thought they were going to get in, okay, and not make much noise and then bow out. And then it was going to be a decision for George McPhee and for Kelly McCrimmon with respect to Bruce Cassidy, okay? And then they would make that decision. I talked about it on the air, Tommy and Jose, with Brian Feldman on yesterday morning, okay, down the dial about this. And Brian actually tossed out, look, they could do it. They could pull the trigger. So I got to kind of give him credit that he actually tossed that out there. But let's be honest. Everybody was shocked, including people that are in the know, that know their hockey, right? That know their hockey. That this was something that was completely out of the blue, that no one knew about. We covered the press conference on Saturday night after the hockey game, Tommy, against the Washington Capitals, where they lost in a shootout, and Bruce Cassidy was talking about what they were going to go moving forward, what they needed to do, right? There was no indication in the media when it came to that, right? So, it was one of those deals where it was absolutely, Tommy, a surprise. And so I thought the scenario would have been different, where he could have possibly lost his job at the end of the season. But the fact that they're doing it now, and then some of the reasoning, Tommy, is that, we think we need a spark. Do they
I have a theory
that they're going to win something this year?
I have a theory. Yeah. My theory is, tell me if I'm crazy, purely speculative, but my theory is they're afraid of winning. They're afraid of winning. They knew Cassidy had to go.
So you have to keep Cassidy, right? You'd have to keep him, right?
Right. You'd have to keep. Yeah. He wins 2, even 3. He gets to the cup. Doesn't win the cup. You got to keep him. So you get rid of him now. Any success they have in the playoffs, all of a sudden looks like it's Tortorella's job, right? He did a great job. The upper management, the ownership group did a great decision. Great decision. Everybody loves him. This is a great job. If Cassidy would have went on and won 2 rounds in the playoffs, if Cassidy would have went on and had this team playing for the Stanley Cup, how do you get rid of him then? How do you justify that to the fan base? So I think it was a fear of winning.
Yeah, 100%, Jose. I think he's spot on right there with that take, because they would have been between a rock and a hard place trying to get rid of him if they had any success in the playoffs, because there would have been that motivation moving forward. They could stay in a positive space, right, when it comes to the Golden Knights. But to me, and now flipping it back to the Tortorella thing, right? Tortorella, and we saw his press conference today. He was unusually meek for John Tortorella, right? Tortorella's kind of a bombastic, kind of in-your-face kind of guy, very sure of himself. Look, but this is a tough spot, right? He's basically coming off. People make the comparison to Rick Bowness, right, when he came back as a coach, and are kind of making that comparison. But he came from a situation in Philadelphia that he enjoyed, but it wasn't necessarily great, right? It wasn't a great exit out of Philly with the Flyers in that situation. And now you're coming here and you have a matter of, again, a lot of Vegas media talked about this in the last 12 to 15 hours. What's he going to be able to do? He's not going to be able to implement a lot, right? In 8 days.
He's got Vancouver 2 of the next 4 games. That helps.
Exactly, right. And he's got Vancouver. He's got 2 of the worst teams in the league with Vancouver and Calgary in the next 2 home games. So again, and that's been a theory too, right, Tommy and Jose, that you get rid of Cassidy on Sunday because you're playing the Canucks and the Flames in back-to-back home games, so you can get
and then they got a game, and then they play Vancouver again. They got that 3 of the next 4 games,
right, Tommy? You get off on the right foot, so that's a good thing for John Tortorella.
Right? He's only got 8 games. You win those 3 games, it's not a disaster, right? You got to win 1 more game, you go 500.
Yeah.
So my question for you, Tommy, is who do you blame in all of this, though? Because we really haven't got that from you. Who do you blame overall when it's all said and done? I said it earlier. This is Kelly McCrimmon's roster, right? He created it. He put it together. At the end of the day, you can only fire certain people. The head coach is normally the first one to go. I said it earlier, and I'll say it again. I believe that Cassidy is just a scapegoat. I think that Kelly McCrimmon understands that the team's not playing their way, but he has to find a way to cover his butt because he put that team on the ice when it's all said and done. Who do you think should be to blame? Is it Cassidy? Is it the front office? Or is it even Aiden Hill? Some people are saying, the Knights are losing and going through all this because of Aiden Hill, which I disagree because there's a lot more play in front of the net that's not being played correctly as well. So at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, who do you blame for the firing?
Generally speaking, since the Cup and even somewhat before that, if we're going to be honest, I have been bashing the roster makeup of this team forever. I think that they have almost gone a fantasy hockey route where they're really good names. They're just guys that don't necessarily complement each other. They don't necessarily fit with each other. They're good players. Now, the Eichel thing was amazing. I was on the air that the next day. I mean, I raved. I watched Eichel up close. That was great. Outside of that, I think they let veterans go a little too soon that they shouldn't have let go. I thought they kept guys that maybe they shouldn't have kept. I don't agree with the contracts. The Hill thing was a major topic for us for weeks when we were talking about who was going to be in goal. I just did not like the roster construction. Nothing against anybody personally. I think that the players are fine. But the way that they built their team said, we're going to have to make hard decisions. And the hard decisions that they made overall were, we're going to keep the flashy name and the flashy guy as opposed to, hey, these guys fit well. This is a good fitting team. I'm not in that locker room, like Chris said, but I would be very surprised if guys in that locker room didn't look around and say, you know what? We're a bunch of really good individual players that are just still not playing as a team. You could put that on Cassidy, but I think it's a team construction problem.
Guys, here's the deal at the end of the day, though, right? It's going to be about Kelly McCrimmon here when it's all said and done at the end of this season, regardless of where the season finishes up. And to that point that you guys were just talking about, and we were talking about Aiden Hill, right? Speaking of Hills, one of our colleagues also, Adam Hill, writer for the RJ, also a local host here in town, had a funny, sarcastic tweet where he put out, he's like, I can't believe Bruce Cassidy didn't trade for a goaltender during the season. It would have saved his job. You know, obviously funny, obviously hilarious, obviously sarcastic, but it kind of lends to the point, right? And the take, Tommy, of yes, this, and to Jose's point that he just made, this wasn't Bruce Cassidy's team. He didn't make this roster, okay? Now, Bruce Cassidy coached the team, and look, Noah Hannafin talked today about how it's a team that is going to play, they're going to play with more juice now, right? Because they have Tortorella as their head coach. Maybe that's something that's a tangible thing. Okay, I get it. I also kind of lean to the area of your professionals, your NHL players playing at the highest level. Really, does a coach, so you need a coach to motivate you to play at a high level and to get to the playoffs and try to win a Stanley Cup. But I digress when I talk about that. A lot of this is on, okay? It's on McPhee and on Kelly McCrimmon when it comes to the roster construction of this team. And yes, they have made some great deals. Tommy talked about Jack Eichel, right? Yeah. You could argue they made a ton of great deals. I wasn't a huge fan of the Max Pacioretty deal because obviously they lost Nick Suzuki, who's now one of the premier guys in the league and captain of the Montreal Canadiens. And the Knights didn't win much when they had Pacioretty on the team. But there's been a lot of deals where they've been great, right? Bringing in Mark Stone, great, despite the fact he's been hurt a lot. But the point being is that at the end of the day, Tom Barton, this is going to be on the general manager and on this team. At the end of the season, it's going to be on him more than it's going to be on the coaching situation.
Well, guys, let me ask you both of you guys, Jose and Chris. Listen, is there a single coach in Vegas's long history of coaches, but is there a single coach that you thought, yeah, I agree with this guy getting fired at this point? Because there wasn't for me. Not one single.
No, going back to obviously Gerard Gallant. There's a lot of us. Gerard Gallant did a tremendous job. He obviously gets to the Cup in his first season here, and but he's jettisoned after a relatively short period of time. Right, brings in Pete DeBoer. Pete DeBoer, solid NHL coach. Right, really good guy. Not really a big personality guy, but had some success here. Got them to a Western Conference final and got them to a semifinal, of course. But then Bruce comes in, and Bruce. And look, I said this on social media, Tommy, and you guys have probably chirped in on this as well, too. Bruce Cassidy, to me, is a top 3 coach in the National Hockey League. He just is, okay? I get that maybe he's worn out his welcome here, or describe it however you want when it comes to his tenure here with the VGK, but he is a damn good coach. And like I said, he's going to be unemployed for a very short period of time, and just kind of take an arrow and just point it at whatever team it is in the National Hockey League that's going to be coaching him. He's going to be coaching him, right? So, Bruce Cassidy's going to land on his feet. But to me, the word desperate absolutely came to mind when it came to the Golden Knights making this decision at this time, at this place, with this coach.
And Tommy talked about, was there a time where any of these coaches got fired that we thought, oh, what, this is wrong, whatever. I agree with you. I mean, there's just so many times where you're focusing, you're worried about what did this guy do? What didn't he do? Oh, he didn't win the championship this year. I get all that, right? But at the end of the day, you need to stick with these guys and you got to give them an opportunity to continue to coach and continue to play. Some people say, well, maybe Bruce Cassidy was just, a recipient of a plug-and-play situation. He basically came into a team that was already set roster-wise, and he was just the coach that basically got handed that and won a cup. Yeah. I don't necessarily agree with that. You still need to coach a team no matter how good your roster is. I wouldn't know about the whole top 3 thing. I think he's a great coach, Chris. Yeah. I think he will definitely land on his feet quicker than a lot of people think will happen. But at the end of the day, you have to give these guys more time. 4 coaches in 9 years is insane.
Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't think I would even give much of a damn as I went to cover the Vancouver Canucks VGK game tonight on a Monday, Tommy, when it comes to one of the worst teams in the NHL. But going to be a lot of fun getting a chance to kind of see what goes down at the Fortress tonight.
-1.5 goals tonight, Chris?
I think VGK. Ooh. I'm thinking like a 5-2 type VGK victory.
-1.5. You're laying 150.
I'm liking it, my friend. I'm liking it a lot. Might be hitting my app on the phone as we get things rolling. Tommy, we're up against it time-wise. We really appreciate you spending some time on a Monday. Talk to us about all things TomBartonSports.com as we roll into another busy sports week.
Yeah, guys, go check it out. It's TomBartonSports.com. Like I said, every day I give a play or two to my members, a full detailed write-up. There's no upselling, no extra packages, no whale play of the millennium or any nonsense like that. You go to the site, you get 30 days of plays. It's less than $200, and there you go. Every single day you have a play ready, available for you, sometimes 4 or 5 plays. You'll get enough plays. You're not going to get overwhelmed with them, and it's all up to you how much you want to play. No upselling whatsoever. It is TomBartonSports.com.
Tommy, so no lock of the years, right? You don't do that over there.
Yeah, we don't do that. No, absolutely. Listen, there are games that I like. There are higher level games, but I've never used the term like, I got the lock of the year. You guys want to hit me up for more money? No, you're a member of mine. I got members for 10, 12 years. You're a member of mine. You know what you're getting, and you're in with everything I get.
Love it.
Get set for that tilt, Tommy. Seattle taking on your Yankees. Yankees 3-0 on the young season so far tonight, going on up there in the Pacific Northwest. Have a great rest of your Monday. We'll talk to you again soon. All right, buddy?
Thanks for reminding me, guys. Thank you.
Tom Barton Sports. Follow him at Tom Barton Sports on the X Machine and beyond. Jose, it's been great on a Monday. Loaded to the gills type of show. Thanks to our guests. Thanks to Josh Pastner, head coach of UNLV Runnin Rebel basketball, joining us in hour 1. Thanks to Mitch Gibbs from WTSO in New Orleans. Thanks to Tom Barton Sports as well, too. Thanks to Numchuck for making us sound good and making us look good, too. We're doing video. We're doing audio across the board. Head to sportsxradio.com. Find all the archive shows. Find all the great write-ups when it comes to all things across the board, from betting numbers to just take. Ken Thompson does a tremendous job. Obviously, Ken will be back on Wednesday. Me and Jose back tomorrow. Much more to get into across the board when it comes to all things sports as we get set for the Final Four. Major League Baseball action, and yes, we're heading out to the Fortress tonight. PGK taking on Vancouver. Thanks to Jose. Thanks to Numchuck. I'm Chris Winn. Have a great rest of your Monday, everybody. As KT likes to say, no drinking and driving, no texting and driving. God bless our troops. God bless you. Have a great Monday. We'll talk to you on the other side on Tuesday.